Welcome to the podcast. This is Dave Douglas, A Noise from the Deep. This is the Becca Stevens episode, and we'll be hearing mostly from her new record, which is called Perfect Animal. Thanks for joining me. Once again, you can reach me always at podcast@greenleafmusic.com. Check out all the records that are happening over there, as well as all the episodes of this podcast. You can get it at iTunes as well. Thanks for listening. Here's Becca.
What do you need to let the weight release? Whatever makes you happy, darling. Whatever makes you smile for me. Whatever makes you happy. That's all I need. That's all I need. That's all I need. That's all I need.
Becca, it's great to talk to you.
It's good to see you.
You sounded so fantastic with Tom Bergeron in the Trumpet Festival,
Well, thanks.
singing in French.
Yeah, I had two different coaches for that. One of them was Guillaume Flouzat. Flouzat? Do you
I
pronounce the
see
T?
he
Yeah, he
pronounced
did a great
he taught
job.
you how to
Yeah.
pronounce his name. Oh, yeah. I want to ask you about your music. Listening to this song, I asked, made me think, like, boy, I could never write a song with lyrics like that. And so I just, first of all, how does it work for you? Where does it come from? How do you begin?
Well, first of all, I think you could. If you just spend some time on it, I totally think you could.
Well, thanks.
You got all that folk music heritage and stuff. You could rock it, which is sort of a lot of the inspiration for that one. It started out as this kind of boom chuck. I asked Chuck, like it started out kind of folky, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And the first line popped into my head, and the refrain, whatever makes you happy, was the first thing that came. And then I spent a few weeks turning it around in my head constantly, coming up with one word at a time and just
Wow.
being kind of obsessed with it until I was happy with it.
So, but the music aspect and the lyric and the chords and rhythm all form simultaneously. Like it's all one piece.
Yeah, it's like
It's not like you had the melody first and then...
it's like one of those puzzles where you have to move all the pieces in order to get a piece up to the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all one puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
and you're moving the pieces together, but when the focus is on one piece, you have to move other ones to make it work, kind of.
And that includes all the elements of the composition, the rhythmic emphasis and phrasing and the melody itself.
I guess so, yeah, because they're all connected to each other. So, for example, the first thing that came was the idea of the word and the opening words and the refrain. And then I sat down with my charango and came up with what I thought would be the charango part for the whole song.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was listening to another record, I think it was a Little Dragon record, and something about the song really inspired me. And I decided to apply some of the inspiration that I was feeling to the song that I was working on. That you wouldn't hear it, like it's totally obscured in how I filtered it through, but it was just some sort of energy that I felt in it, it was like this kind of like sensual, kind of watery, like movement that I was inspired by. And so I turned the song upside down a little bit, which affected the words, which then as I was working on the words, that changed it. But the charango part, like, was settled before the lyrics were, long before the lyrics were. And then for the rest of the tune, I was just like focused on the lyrics. They came, I guess in a way, they came last.
Right, right. But it sounds like part of them were there from the beginning. And
Exactly.
then they had to be massaged to
Yes,
fit what
exactly.
had come up in the meantime.
Yeah. I remember I was on a writing retreat with Tillery, with Gretchen and Rebecca, and
We'll talk more about them.
yeah, and we were on a bike ride, and I came up with a lot of the lyrics on that bike ride. So something about movement, even like driving. I don't know if you're the same, where like when you're moving through space, the creative energy flows much.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
And also when you step away from sitting in a small room with a blank piece of paper.
Absolutely.
And then suddenly you're confronting those same ideas, but you're involved in another activity.
Or if you're in the small room with the blank sheet of paper and you know you have to leave in 20 minutes. It's like right at the 19th minute you'll go, and then you have to go.
I used to, when I lived in Brooklyn years ago, I would try to write at home and have that experience. And then one time I went to the grocery store and filled my cart with items. And just as I was getting to the cashier, I realized, the solution to my musical idea came, and I just abandoned the
your
cart and went home.
groceries. That's awesome. I've done that even when I'm not writing music, just because I get so anxious at grocery stores. All those decisions, God, I'm like sweating,
Really?
breaking out in hives just thinking about it. Yeah.
From like choosing which brand of...
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, I'll leave that
Yeah.
alone. But you're describing the process for this particular song, but how much is that the same for all of your compositions? Like, or is it different on every time?
If you
Just forget the supermarket.
if you looked at the process from a bird's eye view,
Yeah.
it would look like the majority, that my most common process would be to start with the guitar, then add the melody, then the vowels, then the words. It would seem that way.
Yeah.
But actually, more recently, I've been jumbling that process, even if it's just to challenge myself or to get different results.
Right.
And then also, I've been really inspired by starting with themes in my songwriting. Like I just got a commission from the Jazz Gallery to do an hour of new music with musicians of my choice. And so I started assembling some people in my band, plus some really special guests that I wanted to collaborate for a long time. And then went through all these different themes that were inspiring me in my mind, and landed on this idea of all the songs relating somehow to the word queen, which started first with like this obsession that I had one night with Queen Elizabeth. I was like on the internet reading about
it.
Exactly. And so just having that word turned the blank sheet of paper into something more inviting. Like just having that word sparks a whole network of inspiration that goes on infinitely, even if it's like the concept of a queen, or Freddie Mercury, or there's just so many. It's much more inviting to have just even a tiny bit of limitation. And so I've been working from that headspace more than when I was a kid. It was always just like blank sheet, right from feelings kind of a thing.
And music.
Yes.
First. Right.
Yeah.
And this is coming from an idea about words or a word.
Yeah, as opposed to I'm sad.
Right.
I'm going to write a song.
So Steve McQueen comes in.
Exactly.
Right. Bees.
Yeah.
You said you used the charango to write. Is that your go-to instrument, or
no?
So sometimes the piano or the guitar, or
as you can see around us,
lots of instruments here.
We're surrounded.
Yeah. So it does. It just depends on what idea is taking shape, what instrument you might pick up.
It might also depend who I'm writing for. When Ambrose asked me to write the song that I sent to you, I gravitated naturally towards the piano because he has a piano in his band more often than he has a guitar. Same with when Jose James asked me to write for him, I wrote it on the piano. Even though I'm a terrible piano player, it just made more sense. And there are a couple of my songs that I've written on piano, but for my band, I tend to write on guitar, ukulele, or charango because that's what I travel with.
It's what you're going to be playing on stage.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah.
And I find that process goes most smoothly when I come to the first rehearsal and my part is so ingrained that I'm not even thinking about it,
Right.
you know, and it becomes like it's the foundation of what we build from there.
Whatever makes you happy, darling.
You sent me a demo of I Asked, and like an early version that was really interesting to hear, and I thought we'd play a little snippet of that and talk about the production concept.
The side note that you may find interesting about the production concept is that the bass drum is a yoga ball that I was sitting on.
In sober times, when troubles find a taste for gravity, I ask myself, what do you need to let the weight release? Whatever makes you happy, darling.
Demo sounds a lot different than the final version, obviously. And, you know, you go in the studio and you do a whole thing and it's mastered and it's mixed, but is that something that you're thinking of at the outset? Like what the final product is gonna sound like, or does it depend what team you're gonna work with?
By the time I wrote I Asked, I knew the sound that I was going for on that record. And so part of the rhythmic accompaniment was sort of like the bass drum and the percussion sounds and the bass part were fitting into this idea that I had for that record to be a different sounding record than the one before. So.
And that has to do with how the final production goes, like things like reverbs and how the drum kit sounds.
Yeah, how it's handled and how. But at that point, I was already looking for, and maybe even I was already speaking to Scott Solter, because, maybe 5 months or something before we went into the studio, he was asking for demos of everything.
Wow.
So that he could get an idea of what the project would be. So it was really cool to have that kind of like fire lit under me because it gave me an opportunity to have a partnership in the production process because I do have that vision early on, you know?
Yeah, and then forces you to be specific about approaches you would want to take.
Exactly.
In the production.
Yeah.
It changes a lot. I mean, you know, it's really interesting to hear the demo and hear the final version of the way the record sounded. Be Still is another tune from this record that I wanted to play a little bit of.
Yeah.
clarity. What if mine ain't enough for the love that you need? My tongue gets tied and you're clear when you speak. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost in the. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost in the trees. My grounded love with your calm clarity. What if mine ain't enough for the love that you need? My tongue gets tied and you're clear when you speak. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost in the. Your roots plant your feet and I'm lost in the trees. Be still, my heart, it drifts above, up where the dreams go, out of our love is a crop that's sleeping. Walk me to the yard and we'll see what it needs. We'll dig in the dirt and pull up the weeds. The truth hurts most when we keep it asleep.
So tell me about the Becca Stevens band. Like, how important is that? I know you've been playing with this group of people for a long time, right? With
Yep.
a steady personnel.
Chris and Liam I went to the new school with, and we, like Liam I've been playing with since I got there in 2003. And Chris too, like he was in all my ensembles and stuff, so I've known them forever. And the band, they were in the first version of the band in 2005.
Chris Tordini and
Liam Robinson. Yeah, and then we played actually just trio for a little while, a year or two, and I wasn't even actively looking for a drummer. I had some auditions and stuff like that, but I wasn't desperate because there was something so nice about just playing the three of us for a while. It like really solidified. And then Jordan came into our lives and it was the perfect fit. Jordan Perlson. And since then it's been the four of us. So that was probably 2008. Yeah.
That's great. But I mean, now these days, you're the one who's really in demand.
What?
Well, you're on a lot of other people's projects now, right? Like this Ambrose Back in Musery record that you contributed a song to, right? And sang on.
He actually was emailing some other Becca Stevens, and it got accidentally
It was
sent to
like
me.
an Instagram account,
Yeah.
Becca Stevens, but it was the wrong. Sorry, I'm the wrong Becca Stevens.
But I'll do it though for free.
Well, you fooled him. He fell for it.
Yeah, and he put it on the record. So none of this is true.
If you whisper, they won't be able to hear.
They will come. Writing for other people was part of how I got inspired to find a way to remove myself from the process a little more. Because when I wrote for Ambrose and Jose and,
Jose James,
yeah, and Ambrose Akinmusiri, when I was writing for them and other people, I noticed that the process was so much smoother and quicker.
Wow.
And less painful. And
you think that's because you only had to contribute one song, or is it?
no, because I've had songs that I wrote for my band that took months,
Yeah.
if not years, and where I just really was like, holding my head over that piece of paper for years.
Maybe
there's
the idea of being in someone else's context opens your
Exactly.
creative mind.
Yeah. Being in someone else's context removes me from the story a little bit. And so in the case of Ambrose, I said, well, what do you want the song to be about? And he said, just make it from the perspective of a homeless person. and boom, inspiration. Just
so
like
great.
the wheels start
Wow.
going. And so I went to a show of his with the quintet at the Standard and sat in the back and listened to the music and then just sort of did like a stream of consciousness journaling about this character that I made up. And so by the time I got to the piano, I already had this story in my mind of this person. I'd never worked that way before. And so now that's something that I do with my students a lot, my songwriting students, is start with the stream of consciousness, like create the character and everything about the character, like what an actor would do when they're studying their role. And I did something similar on Jose's project too. He gave me some ideas for the theme of the record, and what he thought would be cool if the song was how it would fit in. And so I realized from those experiences and experiences like that like delving in first to what the song could be and how it would fit into the whole picture would save me a lot of time. It seems kind of ridiculous that it took me that long to come to that, because it's a very obvious thing, but I work backwards.
I love the tune.
Oh,
Our
thank you.
Basements. It's beautiful, and Ambrose plays so fantastic.
Did you know Our Basement is an anagram for Ambrose tune?
I did not know that.
My dad came up with it.
I will listen differently.
In the fleeting blush between dusk and afterlight, your eyes were aglow like two moons. Then your smile shot through me, tranquilizing all the ache. And now I'm higher than the streetlights fading on beneath the night sky's blue. I imagine you doing simple things, like humming one part of a song that you like, singing out the words that move you down the avenue, while I watched you walk past me. On a day like this, summer fever's all you think.
Do you have to adjust as a singer? like if there's another horn in the mix, the blend with
I love
trumpet.
singing with horns. I love singing standards with horns and leaving space for them and interacting. I would so much rather solo, that had air quotes, guys, with another horn player or with a pianist or whatever than I would by myself. I love the interaction and the conversation.
And do you think of it differently than singing with other singers, which you do a lot and part of your background?
No.
Same process.
Yeah. Because another thing that I love about singing with horns that also applies to singing with singers is the blending of tones. And I love that. I love doubling other voices and other instruments and stuff and trying to find where to sing in my face to make it blend the best that it can. Talking about Tillery again, Gretchen sings sort of like on the bottom of the note, and I sing on the top of the note, and so she has to think sharp, and I have to think flat.
You mean in terms of intonation?
Yes.
Wow.
She like sings under it, not flat. It's still the pitch,
Right, sure.
but it's just barely.
Right.
And I'm like, I sit on top of it, like. And so together we meet somewhere in the middle, and it's this really beautiful thing because her tone is, it sparkles and it's full of air and this really airy resonance, whereas mine is a little more like, I guess, laser. I don't know. And so the two of them together, I love mixing tones like that. I get really excited thinking about it.
But it is the kind of thing where I always find, like, in that relationship, when you're playing a melody with another person, and of course every human being has a different approach to intonation and a different inner ear as to where the pitch should be.
Totally.
But then if you're playing with someone else, unison, and you're both searching for each other, you never find.
Yeah.
So the great relationships are where, like, one person is just going to put it there, and then the other person figures out how to adjust to a place where it sounds good.
Or in the case of me and Gretchen, we just have an understanding of where we're going to meet. Like, we figured it out, and we know to meet there.
Did that happen with Jose, too? Jose
With
James?
singing with him?
Well, this track that we listened to, Dragon, I mean, the blend is pretty amazing, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Dragonfly light, fire in my flight. Fill me with songs that we weave in the night. Spill out of my dreams. Break open my seams with the music we weave. All through the night, all night. Awakening eyes, bursting with light. Fill up with tears, let your feet to the night. Fill out your dreams, face waves and make change. All through the night, chasing your light. All through the night, all night.
That was like a soft, comfy futon.
Thanks.
So you've mentioned Tillery a few times. Can you tell us about, I know that you guys are out there quite a bit too.
Yeah. Well, we just finished our first record. It's mixed and mastered, and now we're...
And this is a band with...
Gretchen Parlato and Rebecca Martin. And it's just a trio. We play the instruments and sing together, and it sprung forth from us loving each other. And that's where we try to keep it. Is the first time we ever sang together was around Rebecca's dinner table after dinner. It was like the end of summer, and it was just this beautiful, like crickets chirping. We're just singing together, and so anytime we find ourselves getting too caught up in the business side of thing, or like it gets stressful, we just take a breath and say, like, this is friendship first. We're just making beautiful music together. And so it's this really nice collaboration in my life, because it's so nurturing and beautiful. It gives us an opportunity to see each other too, which is difficult when three people are very busy.
So this piece on your record called Tillery, it's about that for you? Or?
Well, that song came before the band.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was working on that song for years, following the loss of a friend named Kenya Tillery. She was this beautiful, incredible composer, singer, songwriter, classical composer, film composer, really promising, beautiful woman. And I met her through music, and she passed away, and it had a really strong effect on me, because it left me with this feeling of, she's so young, why her? And and we are so lucky. That was really the core of the feeling, is I'm so lucky to be making music, because that's all that she wanted to do, and it was just such a drag for her to So for years I was trying to find a way to honor her and write a song that would honor her life, and it was it was just one of those songs that would, like, I would get 2 steps forward and then move a step back, and it was hard to find the right words without it being too brooding. And then I started working with Tillery, and something about the collaboration with them sped up the process infinitely. Like I heard their voices, and then the song was done.
Wow.
And I called the song Tillery. I never explained to them why. Mm-hmm. And then we originally were called Girls Gone Mild. That was the first name of the band. It was Bill McHenry posted a comment on, there was this photo of us in wigs drinking wine or something at Rebecca's house. We were being silly.
Right.
And he wrote Girls Gone Mild.
Wow.
Underneath the photo, and we said, that's our band name. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, we start getting these like kind of high profile gigs. Like we were invited to come be the songwriting faculty at Stanford, and like
well, that seems to make sense.
That
the three of you would be invited.
But with that band name,
you think it was for the wrong reasons?
No.
They inverted the M in the word mild. So were you asked to perform certain...
We were asked to perform there, yeah.
Okay.
And they said, would you like to be billed as Girls Gone Mild? And we had a discussion. We were like, oh, we could just leave it. I mean, that was... And then Rebecca said, how about that word Tillery? I've always liked that. And then I, started silently weeping, because I was just like, oh, that's the perfect way to honor her, because she would have loved it.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go out listening to Tillery.
Aww.
Thanks for talking. It was great hearing what you had to say.
ありがとうございました。
La 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 la, oh. La la la. La 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 la, oh. La la la. La 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 la. The dark emerging trees from the new winter wood are lovelier than leaves, as cold is also good.